and I'm on our Deals Mastery Monday call talking about lead management, success, and follow up, how to effectively manage your pipeline. Each and every Monday, join us on the Deal Mastery Monday as we cover strategies, techniques, and process to help investors achieve their goals. You can head over to dealmastery.com for more information on our programs, our tools, and many deals that you can get, as well as a ton of other information. All right. So, with everything that we do, we should have a goal attached. Now that there's no change in that with regards to follow up. There's no, magic pistol or magic ball or whatever you want to call it. But we have to have those goals. We have to understand exactly what it is that we're attempting to do with regards to our follow up strategy. And I typically boil it down to four different things that are going to get you to that sale, because already you've presented, what your offer is. So now it becomes a point of, being there when the timing is right in order for one of your offers, and you should be providing multiple offers when one of them works. So the goals that I typically, or that I effectively look at with regards to follow up, is continuing to build rapport. Yes, you want to establish rapport right out of the gate with regards to your leads, because obviously for those that are low hanging fruit, maybe you can close on them on the first pass. Again, that's probably going to be about 5 or 10% of the leads that you bring in. Is going to be a very low, close immediately type of lead. But with those leads that you build rapport with over time, you should continue to build that rapport. Oftentimes, I'll say, I mentioned before that I have a lead that we're continuing to follow up with for about the last 5 years. At this point, we typically don't even talk about the house much. It's making certain that we stay in contact, we understand where they are and their process in terms of their thought process of trying to essentially move forward with that property, continuing to I would say stay genuine. It can get into, a little bit personal. Oftentimes you'll find that, as a real estate investor, you, in some cases, become somewhat of a therapist, quite frankly, because many people, as you're dealing with problems, because we are, typically focusing on solving people's problems. In many cases, those are the problems that they're going to continue to talk about, whether that be family problems, whether it be emotional problems, financial problems, or any other problems. Those are typically what you are going to be talking about. And that is one of the quickest ways to build rapport, because people feel as though that you are empathetic, and you should be empathetic to their problems. It helps you craft a strategy that's going to work for them. So you have to continue to build that rapport, establish a firm understanding of the solutions that you offer. They need to know up front. I'm not going to continue to come up in price, or I may if the terms change, but I've established exactly what I can offer up front. That may change over time. The offer that we, presented 5 years ago on that lead may not be valid. But I'll tell you what, the rapport that we've built, the rapport that we've had over time continues to be there. And he's going to provide the first crack at that property to us because we built the rapport. The understanding of our solution is still there. We continue to advise him what our offer was. If asked, we continue to talk to him about what problem that solves by taking our offer, exactly what he can do, in terms of moving forward, now not having that problem as that property is a burden. So those are the things that you need to understand it and make sure that they understand that these are the solutions that we solve for you with regards to our offer. That has to be firm, that has to be continuous over that time that you continue to build rapport, however long that process takes, whether that's your normal 90-day cycle or something that's much longer. It has to be there. All right. And let's see, aggravate the problem that you solve. So Eddie, this is where I'm going to focus on your question, how much follow-up is too much? Well, guess what? As long as they have a problem and you can aggravate it in terms of bringing it to the forefront, because, most people, if a problem's not in your face, and many times, even though you say real estate, it has to be in their face, Kevin. How could it not be in their face? It's a house. Well, if a property isn't local, it's not in their face in many cases. If a property maybe belonged to an estate of a family member, they've not had contact with this family member in a long period of time, many different things, whatever the reason, this is not a in their face problem. So, aggravating that problem that you solve by reminding, by, continuing to ask, certain questions with regards to it, so that allows them to think, is how you effectively goal set in terms of what the goal of your call is. And I want to, every single time that I, maybe touch base with them as a call or, any other type of contact, I want that problem to be somewhat in the forefront of, exactly what are you going to do to get out of this situation? Because we provided you several solutions. You've not necessarily agreed to those, but, we have those solutions on the table. What's the other option that you are pursuing, because you obviously aren't looking to pursue ours. So that begins that thought process of exactly what do I need to do to solve this problem. And then those offers that you provided continue to be a option for them to be able to choose. So that's the goal of that continuous follow-up, to be able to continue to be that solution that's in front of them as you aggravate that problem. And to induce that decision-making step. Oftentimes, as I said before, this property isn't in front of their face. It may not be something that's completely a problem for them, immediately, or they may just be looking to, quite honestly, dig their head in the sand and hope the problem goes away. Which, there's those people out there as well. You have to be able to induce a decision-making step, so that follow-up continues to provide a kind of a reminder of the issue. This house is still out there. This, tax lien is still out there. This, pre-foreclosure is still out there. This, whatever situation is still out there. What are you going to do about it? How exactly are you going to handle this? When are you going to handle this? Is this something that's going to continue to loom over you, that's going to continue to bother you every single time? You have to be able to kind of dig in and make certain they understand that this is a problem. And at some point, you're going to have to solve that, solution. So to answer your question, how much follow-up is too much? Quite honestly, it's when they decide it's too much. If you've built rapport well enough, they're not going to see you as a issue, as a problem for them. Now, certain personality types may and say, I'm trying to put my head in the sand here. This guy keeps reminding me and trying to induce me to make a decision. Well, that personality type may simply say, leave me alone. In which case you have your follow-up strategies in place that can still continue to contact them. If they say stop calling, guess what? There's other ways to follow up. And we're going to get into that, very shortly. But essentially, you have to be able to identify and continue to make certain that these goals are met through each type of contact that you attempt to make with that individual, to allow them to continue to make the decisions. You have to be able to do so, or they're just not going to make a decision ultimately. And effectively, you will have wasted your time if you continue to call or continue to, whatever that process is that you're utilizing to contact them is just going to be a waste of time. All right. So let's check and see if there's any questions here. Looks like Sarah makes great sense. Thumbs up. How much follow-up is too much? We just covered that, Eddie. I need to work harder on following up more consistently. Absolutely, DeMarco, and your system. I have some great follow-up built in for you. Alma, absolutely essential. Yes, great. And Eddie, till they tell you to stop calling. That's right, Reese. Till they tell you to stop calling, and then you have the other processes that we talk about here coming up. Exactly how to still get them going. All right, so let's talk. Let's move forward here.